The CEO of a major tech company had grown tired of reports and numbers that only told him what he wanted to hear. He felt disconnected from the people who actually used his products and knew that real insight came from seeing the world through the eyes of a customer. Late one Tuesday morning, he made a decision that surprised even his closest advisors. He would go undercover as a regular customer and spend a day in one of his own company's stores. He wanted to experience the frustrations, the delights, and the small details that were invisible in boardroom meetings. He changed his appearance, trading his tailored suit for a simple shirt and jeans, and wore glasses that slightly distorted his familiar face. He even adopted a fake name, telling only his personal assistant, who had protested, and then reluctantly agreed to keep the secret. The store he chose was a busy downtown location known for having a loyal following, but also for long lines and sometimes frustrated staff. He arrived early before the doors opened and watched employees prepare for the day, noticing how they organized merchandise, checked inventory, and rehearsed greetings with each other. He observed the manager giving last-minute instructions, and he felt a twinge of recognition for how difficult it must be to keep everything running smoothly. He took mental notes on the layout, the way customers moved, and how employees interacted with them, deciding he would immerse himself fully and not intervene unless absolutely necessary. When the doors opened, he walked in, blending into the stream of regular customers. He watched faces lighting up at items they loved and frowned at, items that did not meet expectations. He listened carefully to conversations overhearing, complaints about pricing and delivery issues, and quietly observing the efficiency of the checkout process. He noticed that some employees were patient and cheerful even when the lines grew long, and some seemed weary and distracted. He tried to imagine how it felt to spend hours on his feet dealing with the public. He picked up products he had never personally used, examining packaging usability and design, making mental notes of what could be improved. As he wandered through the aisles, he spotted a young waitress in the small cafe corner of the store. She moved with a grace that came from experience and greeted customers with warmth that seemed effortless. He saw her gently explain menu options to a family who seemed overwhelmed, and she did it without looking rushed. She carried plates with a smile and a level of patience that made even the crankiest customer soften. He found himself fascinated by her approach because it reflected a human side of the store that numbers could never capture. He decided he would sit at a table and order something simple to observe the cafe from a customer's perspective. He ordered coffee and a pastry and watched how the waitress managed several tables at once. She seemed to know exactly when someone needed a refill, when a tray was full, and when a child wanted attention without the parents noticing. Her presence was commanding but quiet, like she had an invisible control over the atmosphere of the space. He admired her skill and efficiency and made a mental note to understand how her attitude influenced the overall experience. The CEO could feel a mix of humility and anticipation as he waited for his order, wondering if he would learn something today that would change his approach to running the company. He was about to experience a reality that no report could provide, and he was eager to discover the truth behind the daily interactions that kept his business alive. The coffee arrived steaming and aromatic, and he took a small sip, feeling the warmth spread through his hands as he observed the cafe. He noticed how each customer had a different approach. Some were hurried and impatient, some were relaxed and smiling, and some were confused or lost in thought. He watched the waitress glide between tables, answering questions, delivering orders, and clearing plates with a rhythm that seemed effortless, yet demanded complete focus. She paused briefly at his table, offering a warm smile and asking if he wanted anything else. He shook his head, silently grateful for her kindness, and decided to continue observing. He saw a small incident unfold at the next table. A young boy had dropped his glass of juice, and the waitress bent down to clean it while comforting him. The parents looked frazzled and embarrassed, and she managed to calm the situation without making anyone feel judged or inconvenienced. The CEO found himself marveling at her ability to manage chaos with calm precision, and he wondered if his executives had any understanding of the human elements that defined the customer experience. He made a mental note that perhaps true leadership required seeing beyond profits into the small acts of care that defined loyalty as. He sipped his coffee. He reflected on his own journey to the top. The company had grown fast and profits had soared, yet he realized he had rarely taken the time to witness the work of those who interacted directly with customers. He had relied on metrics charts and feedback forms filtered through layers of management. He now felt an unfamiliar humility as he watched employees balancing efficiency with empathy. He realized that the real strength of the company lay in these interactions, and he was determined to learn more. Then the waitress returned to his table. She had a quiet confidence about her and a presence that seemed to command respect without demanding it. She noticed he looked distracted and asked if he was all right. Her voice was gentle yet direct, and it cut through his thoughts. He hesitated for a moment and then replied vaguely about just thinking about the day. She nodded as if she understood, and he felt an unexpected warmth from her genuine attention. The cafe grew busier and the lines longer. He noticed the strain beginning to show on the faces of some employees, yet she moved calmly among them, guiding new staff without criticism and lending support where it was needed. She was like a quiet anchor in a storm, and he realized that perhaps he had underestimated the significance of one dedicated individual in shaping the experience of so many. He began to jot mental notes about how leadership and mentorship operated on a micro level in ways that could never be captured by spreadsheets. Then the moment came that would stay with him forever. She approached his table again with a calm and knowing smile and said 3 simple words that struck him with unexpected force. She looked directly at him and said, "You matter." Here he felt a jolt of clarity as the words sank in. They were not about profit or efficiency or brand image. They were about human recognition and connection. He realized that despite his title, he had often forgotten the simplest yet most powerful truth, that everyone wanted to feel valued. The CEO sat back and contemplated the magnitude of those words. He realized that this encounter would shape his decisions from that moment onward. He understood that running a company was not merely about numbers and growth charts, but about people, moments, and experiences that created loyalty and trust. The words lingered in his mind as he watched the waitress continue her work, moving seamlessly from table to table, handling complaints and questions. With a calm authority that inspired confidence in everyone around her, the CEO realized that he had witnessed something far more valuable than he had imagined. The simple act of making someone feel seen and appreciated had a ripple effect that impacted morale, customer satisfaction, and the very culture of the company. He understood that leadership was not just about making decisions in a boardroom, but about creating an environment where every individual felt that they mattered. He finished his coffee, slowly reflecting on the morning, and he began to consider the ways he could implement change. He thought about the countless memos and training sessions he had personally signed off on, yet realized that none had captured the essence of what made this cafe function smoothly. The human element could not be scripted. It had to be nurtured. He knew that if he wanted to improve the company, he would need to start by valuing employees in the same way this waitress valued her customers. He prepared to leave. He watched the interactions around him, noticing small acts of kindness and professionalism he had previously overlooked. He saw a young cashier patiently explaining a promotion to an elderly couple. He saw another employee offering a free sample to a customer who seemed hesitant. He saw laughter shared between co-workers and small gestures that created a positive atmosphere, and he recognized that these moments were the foundation of long-term success. He understood that culture could not be dictated from the top. It had to be experienced from the ground up. On his way out, he stopped briefly to thank the waitress under his real name, revealing his identity. and she smiled in recognition, but remained humble. She expressed appreciation for his visit and for noticing the efforts of the staff. He realized that true leadership involved listening and observing and acting in ways that empowered others. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for having taken the time to step into the shoes of his customers and employees, and he knew that this experience would fundamentally alter how he approached his role back at the office. He called an impromptu meeting with his senior team and shared the lessons he had learned, emphasizing empathy, connection, and the importance of seeing things through the eyes of those on the front lines. He encouraged them to spend time in stores, cafes, and call centers to witness firsthand the challenges and triumphs experienced by employees and customers alike. He outlined new initiatives to foster recognition and reward acts of excellence in ways that went beyond metrics and KPIs.